One of the things in Britain, as I talk about all these different habitats, they all kind of overlap and join up, and there's different little patches, and that's one of the great things. And here we're in an area where we've just come out of scrub, we've got bracken, we've been in birch woodland, plantation, and now I'm out into a much more open form of woodland which has been grazed. And you can see it's this kind of thing, a field area and these woodlands, which are kind of the idea, I suppose, that was got behind the early parklands and how parklands start to form, because the trees start to get more open spaced as the grazing underneath, so young trees aren't coming through, but the old trees are still there. And obviously the old deer estates would have been based very much on that development from the early hunting forests. Forest meaning the hunting area, not an area of trees, but they would have been open areas. And we will look at parkland separately, but this is almost starting to form parkland, and it's actually a patch of old woodland. I'm going up the hill. See the old walls as well. So old fields up here, and the woodlands have formed at various points when the grazing's been less dominant. This hill I'm walking up has got a long history. It's one of the bigger hills in the area. It's actually basalt outcrop, but what I want to show you is the hill behind me. Hopefully on the film you can make out there looks like there's rings and bumps around that hill, and then some fairly obvious outcropping bumps. That's actually an Iron Age hill fort. And hill forts were, as with many communities at that time, they were primarily large extended family groups, and they'd be living in these areas, fortifying them. Really, there were villagers on the hilltops, fortifying them to protect themselves and protect their animals. And probably by then many trees would have already been cleared, and grazing would have been a really important part of people's lifestyle and their food source. And the weather was probably warmer at that time as well, so people were living up on these high points where they could see what was going on around them, and a lot of the area surrounding would have been grazing land, yes, with patches of woodland, patches of scrubland, but not this huge expanse of this huge expanse of dense woodland that I think was previously imagined. And certainly by the time people were building these sorts of hill forts, then already there would have been a lot of open grazing land. I'm going to carry on up to the top because from the top of this hill you get some very good views of the Severn Vyrnwy floodplain, and we can see the meandering of the river, but we'll also be able to see quite a few features of countryside history in that landscape. And really just to show you some of the examples so you can be thinking about the places you're walking through when you're out nearly wild camping, and maybe then going back and talking to the landowners and other people that you meet, try and understand a bit more. It's fascinating. The more you start to look into it, the more fascinating this combination of us and history and ecology and land use and all these other aspects coming together becomes. If you're lucky enough to have a hill nearby you or nearby the place that you're out camping, it's a really great place to get a good feel of the landscape and start to look back in time. And I like to mix that, trying to find out about local history from the landowners, from the local places in the village, local museums, anywhere that you can find information really. The library, local library often have things on local history, and combine that with what I'm seeing when I'm out and about looking at the countryside, and also what I'm learning from the landowners and the people that manage the land, because obviously they know how things have worked on their farm or on their forest. Very often they know quite a lot about the history. So the wildlife that we have now is related to how we've used these habitats over hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. And so it's not about us and nature, it is we are part of nature. And the more you understand about this countryside history, and see these different habitats. And I hope that these short introductory habitat videos we've been making for you help you to sort of understand more about that and excite you to go out and explore more about your home area, and excite you to go out and see other places when you're out on nearly wild camping trips, and understand more about them, learn from the people that live there, because a lot of the history I've learned about this, I've learned from other people who've lived here for many generations, and they've told me, as well as the things that I've read and watched on films and YouTube and all of the other sources of fascinating information that are out there.